Now on Talking Solutions, want to welcome Vinnie Mannino, talking about Operation Knockout. I feel like I have to say it like that.
We're in our 8th year doing this charity event for Randy Couture's GI Foundation, helps out wounded soldiers and their families. So the first 5 years, we actually did it for Candlelighter's Childhood Cancer Foundation of Nevada.
Familiar.
My sister still sits on the board. We ended up changing gears and decided to kind of come full circle and do it for Randy's GI Foundation because he was one that believed in us since day one. In fact, our first 2 years of the event, it was held at his gym. He brought us on. We didn't have any kind of audience. It was more of a smoker, they call it, more of an exhibition fight the first year. So I actually fought in it as the main event, fought three-minute boxing rounds. I'm not a MMA fighter. I'm not a fighter by any means, but a local loan officer that would send me business said one day, hey, maybe we'll get in even better shape. I'll fight you in your garage. You fight me in my garage. So I took it to my business partner who were always thinking business. And he's like, hey, maybe, make it into an all Nevada insurance event. And I'm like, okay. And that night I was about ready to go to sleep. I was talking to my wife and I says, hey, babe, I think I'm going to get in fighting shape. At the time we had 2 young daughters. She's like, oh my gosh, Vinny, are you crazy? You get nosebleeds all the time. You get hot and your temperature raises. You never fought in your life. I'm like, no, you're right. And all of a sudden it just kind of hit me. I think just a man upstairs. And I said, man, I'm being selfish for a couple of reasons. One, I want to train to be a fighter. That's on me. 2, I want to promote our company. And then finally I was like, you know what? Maybe we should do it for charity. That was in 2010. The first year we raised $13,000. We had about 300 people show up at the gym. I went back to Randy's people and the coaches and I'm like, guys, I think we need a promoter's license or something like that. Immediately they thought of Tough Enough that was granted the first amateur promoter's license in the state of Nevada. So we actually sanctioned the second year all the bouts. We strictly wanted to do MMA because it's popular more now than ever before. So they ended up putting a great fight card together. We raised that second year $17,000. This was the time where Randy expanded his gym. We ended up packing that place with about 750 people. It was wall to wall. We raised a lot of money. People had a great time. It was all sanctioned. We had judges. It was a real fight card on the amateur level, of course. And at that point, it was like, now we got something big. We got to go outside and look at venues. And we've had the event at the Palms and Texas Station, Orleans Arena, Brooklyn Bowl, downtown Las Vegas Event Center. And now this year, it's going to be at Sam's Town Live. But just going back to that story of we wanted to come full circle after the 5th year and bring Randy's people back on board and say, hey, let's do it for your organization, your foundation. So here we are, our 8th annual.
I'm just really amazed, Vinny, that you really were the genesis of this charity event. I don't know much about fighting, but I know MMA is mixed martial arts, and it is very popular. Mm-hmm. This is happening on Veterans Day.
Yes.
Next Saturday, November 11th, which is nice because the charity benefits
wounded soldiers and their families. And we believe we found a really tight, long-term relationship with the Boyd Gaming executives. The VP of Entertainment, he's been wonderful. And he's like, let's start you out at Sam's Town Live. It's a great venue. They've had other amateur fights there before. So we threw out a couple dates. One date that we really wanted in particular was the November 11th, being on Veterans Day. We try to keep our event on a Saturday, most beneficial and easy for people to get to. They said, hey, we have that open date. Let's do it. And we're like, what a perfect fit. Randy, what a one-of-a-kind person. Humble, down to earth. You think of some of these fighters as rough, rugged, maybe even stuck up, big egos, whatever. Most of them are not, by the way. And Randy is just the opposite. He's kind-hearted. He's a former U.S. Army veteran himself. Started this foundation in 2009, wanted to keep it small. It's family ran. We donate all of our time, all of our services. Randy graciously basically cuts $10,000 checks and visits these troops in the hospital, spends the whole day with them. It's a very emotional time. He doesn't even tell media when it's going to be. It's about the troops. I'm just blessed and fortunate that I've been part of it with him really since day one in 2010 when we had the event the first 2 years there. And even when we took it to these outside venues, we still had the weigh-ins at his gym the night before, and they were always a sponsor of our event. But like I said, now these last 3 years, we kind of come full circle and we do it directly for his foundation.
Who participates as fighters in the event?
What we try to do is try to get a lot of local fighters and some of the local fighters that have direct ties to ones that are battling cancer or post-traumatic stress from being a veteran or whatever the case is. We try to draw on that and tap into their families. And a lot of these guys, they want the big stage and they're trying to build their resumes and trying to make it to the pro level, in particular UFC. So they give it their all. Even though they're amateur, they give it their all. I equate it to the collegiate level of any other sport. That's what this amateur MMA level or division is. But I'm really proud that Extreme Couture, Randy Couture's gym, we have more of Randy's fighters from his gym participating. In fact, we have 8 of them this time around. We have 12 MMA bouts bouts scheduled, and we have 3 grappling bouts, which is more wrestling, if you will, jiu-jitsu type style. And we've got a couple big names from a couple of the local gyms where we believe we're going to have huge supporting systems to come and buy tickets and attend the event. So we're really, really excited tapping into both demographics, if you will. Dennis Davis and Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture, they're the ones that really try to match make along with Tough Enough, because we're using their license. They really work hard to have the best matchups possible, and really also proud to say that they put together 4 title bouts as well. I think that's a first for us for this specific event.
Operation Knockout is happening next Saturday at Sam's Town Live. Great venue for it, I agree. Tickets starting at like $15. This is for all the stuff that you just described.
Yeah, so it starts at $15. Is not a bad seat in that venue. We walked it several times. The $15 will get you bleacher seats, so you're not going to have those heads in front of you, and you're not going to have to look up all the time at the big screens.
Right.
You tend to do that being on the floor, not so much like concerts, but if you've ever been to an MMA bout, there's a cage, it's not a ring. So it's kind of hard to see through that cage. If you're sitting real low there, you tend to look up at the big screens. But anyway, the $15 tickets are the bleacher seats. They're the back rows. Then our floor seats are $30, and then the first 3 rows around the cage are set at $50. I heard we're under 100 tickets left. Supposedly the $50 ones are gone. So there's some 30s left, some 15s left. So I really believe we're not quite at November 11th, but I think for the first time ever, we're going to sell out before the event takes place.
And it's all to raise money for the charity.
Yes.
Being in Las Vegas, we're all familiar with fight events. And when you hear about the seats up close, they are crazy expensive.
Right.
And then they end up getting handled by ticket brokers. You get a big fight in town and people are paying thousands of dollars to be up front. This is not the case, and it's all for charity.
That's right. I've attended a couple UFC pro-level Bellator type fights, and it's exactly like it, except at the amateur level. So from an entertainment standpoint, we're right there, and I think we even go over the top and then some, because we also sell our commemorative one-of-a-kind event t-shirts each and every year. They're different, obviously, and we have a huge silent auction. We have a lot of people from the community donating goods, obviously for free for our silent auction. We got a couple tickets to Matt Franco and Legends in Concert. UFC's always been gracious, donating some signed memorabilia from some of their top fighters. Randy, of course, signs a bunch of stuff, and he's got a lot of the UFC type fighters that train out of his gym anyway, like Miesha Tate, who recently retired. She's going to sign some picture tiles and whatnot, gift baskets. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's an array of items that we have at our silent auction, which is exciting.
It's all happening this coming Saturday on the 11th on Veterans Day.
Yes.
What is the timeline, Vinnie?
Doors open up at 5, but I really plead with everybody to try to be there 5:30. We got a wonderful pre-show at 5:45. We usually do that 15-20 minutes before the first fight happens, and the pre-show is phenomenal. Randy comes out. He thanks everybody for coming out. We recognize some of our partners that help bring the event together and give them a little gift. We usually have a wounded soldier or two say some special words. Sometimes it has to be outside the cage, if they're wheelchair bound, or we get them inside the cage. We also get to see Randy's GI Foundation video, which is very touching. Color Guard comes out, national anthem. It's a wonderful pre-show. And then the first fight, try to have it start exactly at 6. The whole night should end 10:30 at the latest. We're thinking probably about 10. So
sounds like a good time. There's a lot going on.
There really is.
Plus the silent auctions and all the other stuff that you've got in there.
Yeah.
You're going to raise a lot of money for Randy Couture's Extreme Couture and GI Foundation. Awareness and financial assistance for wounded soldiers and their families.
That's correct.
On Veterans Day.
Yes.
A big charity event that's going to benefit veterans and their families.
Absolutely. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, and this is not a sales job by any means, we see the numbers. The tickets are really going. You can buy them at any Boyd Gaming property in person. Fees are a little less, $1 or $2.
Sure, you go right up to the box office.
Right up to the box office. Or, go through Ticketmaster. Of course, they're going to have their own fees, but Ticketmaster or samstownlv.com, which if you click on samstownlv.com, it's going to direct you right to Ticketmaster anyway. So either Ticketmaster or in person at any of the Boyd Gaming properties, and I believe there's 12 of them around the city.
More all the time, I think. We always ask, as part of Talking Solutions, what can we do to help you?
You allow me to be on the show. Just so grateful, so honored. Thank you so much just for helping us get the word out. And I think with it just being an organic, homegrown, small foundation, family ran, and nobody takes any money out of this. It goes directly to the troops. We just heavily rely on word of mouth is the biggest thing, through social media or being on platforms such as yours, which is wonderful. And got to give a big shout out to our current and new sponsors and donors. They have been wonderful. We've raised so much money between the donations and the sponsorships. We're sitting at almost 40 grand, which we've never even come close to that. That's been a blessing. So between that, and then we're just waiting on selling out and get the ticket sales money together, and then the event t-shirts and the silent auction. And we're also going to have a 50-50 raffle, by the way. You'll be able to buy some raffle tickets and be one winner that'll be drawn at the end of the night. The ring announcer will announce the winner. The foundation will keep half of the money, and then the winner will keep the other half. Obviously, if the winner chooses to donate that money to the foundation, it's strictly up to he or she.
Just putting an idea in their ear.
Wink, wink, right?
Yes.
We really appreciate being on your radio show and your platform. So.
Happy to do it. Vinnie, is there anything I'm forgetting?
I don't believe so. I just want to say thank you all, and I hope to see everybody out there. It's going to be a phenomenal show, I promise you.
Next Saturday, Veterans Day, Sam's Town Live. Doors are at 5. Go ahead, get there early. Raising money for a great cause for wounded veterans and their families.
That's right.
And it is going to be a great night. All the information will be on the Talking Solutions Facebook page, along with the podcast of our discussion. Vinnie Mannino, thank you so much for joining us today on Talking Solutions.
My pleasure. Thank you.